Welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Kyle. The channel is called Kyle by the Creek. We got a windy early March kind of day, but it is a beautiful day, and we're going to pick up a $150 tractor. The deck is off of it. Lady says it needs a new stator, and she even has the part. I don't know, it's probably going to be a mess, but let's go pick it up. And we're back home. Yeah, this is a piece of junk, but I still bought it. Does have the nice color V-twin. There's even orange overspray. You probably can't see it. This thing has been painted on. Some really even worse paint than what I typically do. I mean, the tires are kind of nice. The deck needs a little bit of work too, and that's been painted too. So yeah, it doesn't run. The guy does think there's something wrong electrically. Like, he does have a new stator for me, so I have that. But I'm not sure what's going on. I think it might be voltage rectifier. I think he's got charging issues. But yeah, it's not pretty. It's not going to clean up real well either. Orange duct tape. Yeah. All right. Well, that's what we got. These are my favorite mowing decks to move around, though. You could just roll them like this. Get them across the lawn. Oh no, we're hitting mud. Well, usually. All right, well, let's bump the starter here, and we got the key on. See what happens.
So it does want to run.
Gas in there. Key feels a little funny. Hasn't moved any fuel yet, so that's probably why it's not firing off. Put some starter fluid in there. Well, that's a good sign. See if we can keep it running with that. Turn this throttle down. Take choke off. Should probably check oil, huh? Now that we're getting it to fire off. Yeah, there's clean oil in there. He said he just did a service, and right after the service, oh, look at that trigger wire unplugged. Pretty sure you need that. Huh. Oh, look for that. That's unplugged too. Any fuel. No fuel moving. A little bit of choke. Well, fuel's coming now. Taking a while. All right, well, it won't stay running, but we are starting to get fuel now. All right, well, that's at least some good signs of life. Okay, a few days later, and we got this thing in the shed now. Give us a chance to go over some of the electricals. Get the hood open. Yeah, I think we have a lot of wires to investigate here. There's several things unplugged. So, yeah, let's put some power. We'll put some power to the battery and start poking around. Okay, this thing cranks over. Well, the battery light comes on. If I have a good connection, it cranks over, which I wasn't getting the other day. So that's good. Yeah, I got a couple things hooked up to that. I got a battery charger, but it wouldn't recognize the battery without a little bit of a jump from the battery pack. I know that's a little convoluted, but yeah. So battery's probably really shot. Electrical system seems decent. I think with a jump we can try to give this thing some more cranking. Where we left off the other day was just not getting fuel, but I mean, I think we're almost there with fuel. It's got to start getting it soon. Okay, I have the battery charger off, just the jump pack on now. We got a green light. Yeah, the battery pack's not gonna like it. Try again. Not even firing off now. Okay. So firing off when I put spray like right into the carb. What I want to check now is if any fuel is coming out of the pump here, because the fuel pump would be an easy thing to swap out too. Ooh, pretty hard fuel line here. Yeah, it looks really dry right now. Yeah, nothing's come through. I mean, I could tell immediately. All right, maybe we'll just try a new pump. I mean, it seems like it's, I don't know. I mean, it filled the fuel filter started to get fuel, so maybe it's working a little bit. I'll try to prime it. Unfortunately, that means putting a little piece of line there and just sucking some air through. See if I can get some fuel up into the pump. I'll save you from watching me do that, but there we go. All right, well, let's crank a little bit. I'll put it right into the carburetor. How about that? We'll crank a little bit and see if that pump starts working. Now it's really not pumping anything. All right, I think that's showing us that we got a bad fuel pump. It's very weak, at least. Pretty easy to swap out, and I should have a few of these lying around. Okay, not only did I have a few lying around, this one's brand new. These lines are rock hard. Now, it is cold out too today, but that's pretty hard lines all around. I'm sure I'm blocking most of your view here. If only it went on nice and easy. Okay, because I want to see if this thing works, I hooked up that temporary line there. Let's give this a little bit more cranking. Now, I do see it moving fuel. Not great, though. Not real good. I don't know if that's enough to run. We might have a tank blockage or something like that, or not getting good vacuum. While we're waiting for some batteries to charge up, I have the main fuel line. This runs to the tank. I'm going to blow some compressed air in it and just see what's going on with this. Okay. That flows freely. So unless we're not getting a good pulse, which I can't tell exactly. It looks like it comes out of the crankcase, like directly into the crankcase. I don't know if I've ever seen that before or noticed that before. It's not coming out of the dipstick tube or the valve covers like you normally see it. This third fuel line, which is really just, it has no fuel running through it, goes to a steel barb that looks like it's press fitted into the block of the engine. Huh? So I don't know if there's much I can do with that. But I'm gonna hook this back up and just maybe I blew out a blockage there when I did all that air. That might have done something. Help it out a little bit. Yeah, that's just me bottle feeding it. So we might need to look into the carburetor too, but I just have a feeling we're not. Oh, look at that. We're getting no fuel now. There's tons of fuel there. Well, that's weird. All right, let's try to get to the bottom of this. All right, I re-primed the pump. Got a little shot of spray in there. I think it's just a bad connection. And this will pretty much prove the point here. So we got auxiliary tank. See if we can get this thing to run. Yeah, I don't know. Revving it gets it a little bit more. Is it just me, or does this thing sound like it has rod knock? All right, I put a band hose clamp. You know, not just the pressure ones, but the ones you can tighten down. I put that on the vacuum line, and now it's able to pump fuel uphill better. So it still doesn't seem real great, but I don't know. Let's try this out. See if it's any better. Yeah, our throttle cable is broken at the handle. So where you control the throttle, I can see the throttle cable snapped. So, yeah, interesting. Luckily, we can still kind of control it. All right. Yeah, it's running off its own power now. If I could give it some more throttle, it would go, but it's driving. Transmission works. know, maybe it's me, but maybe the engine sound is starting to grow on me. Can't quite tell if there's a tick. Maybe it's a valve tick. It's something's still wrong here. I mean, it's not getting enough fuel. We barely have fuel in the fuel filter here. I don't know. You could do like an electronic fuel pump. It's possible there's a valve cover style that you could get vacuum from the valve covers, but I don't really know. I don't know what you would do there to solve that problem. This line is good. There's no, I tested the line. There's no cracks in it. There could be a crack in a fuel line somewhere else. So this thing might need all new fuel lines. It took a little bit of work, but I was able to get some of this dash loose so I could get under there and get this throttle control off. Here's the broken cable. I'm just gonna put a Z-bend in there. I have one of those tools. And I still have it connected here. So I don't know, that might save me from having to buy a new throttle cable for a very old lawnmower. I was able to put a pretty good bend in there and put that one in the shortest hole, and now I have full travel. So I got full throttle there and all the way down to idle. So there, we saved ourselves from having to get a throttle cable. All right, with our working throttle, let's give this another test run. Why it shut off so hard like that? Cable shifts on me, doesn't stay pinned. I wonder what is rocking around down here. It could be that. In that case, that's normal. Really sounds like it's near the end. This drive bell is so bad. Could be something like that. Could be that. I know it's gonna sound odd, but when you touch the block, you know, if you have rod knock, you could feel it because the piston rod is hitting something. So I don't feel any odd vibrations coming from the engine. Kind of sounds like it's like right at the flywheel. It's kind of that. Boy, that might be rod knock. I don't know. You know what? No, it is this. Yeah. Okay. It's the PTO. That's odd. That makes a lot of noise. Okay, and it just died on me there. Let's get the dog untangled. So we're back a few days later, and I looked it up, and yes, the way this engine gets its pulse, its vacuum pulse, is from the crankcase. And there's not much you could do about it, so I'm kind of thinking that that's going to be okay, because it just gets its pulse from the piston moving up and down, which there's two pistons in there moving up and down. What are you going to do? I can't really fix much with that. I think the fuel line is probably kinked a little bit. These lines don't look great. So I'm going to investigate, see if I don't have to pull the fender off, but let's see if we can put in a new fuel line going at least from the tank to the filter. I mean, we might as well redo the whole thing, but the hard part is there. Let's get the hard part done, and the rest hopefully will fall into line. Well, I just had something kind of bad break here. So this thing was ready to break. I gave it a twist, and it came all the way off. Why was I taking that off? That's the deck height adjuster, or the where it bottoms out or whatever. Trying to take the fender off because I couldn't get to the fuel lines any other way, and that has to come off. So yeah, that broke. Yep. Figure that out later. We'll just set it there. I think I have this fender loose. 1/2 inch nut under there, 1/2 inch nut under there, 1/2 inch bolt, 1/2 inch bolt. That's it. You don't even have to take the seat off, from what I can tell. So I'm gonna try to get this thing up and out of here. I'll probably have to remove the gas tank, which has a ton of gas in it. Yep. So kind of turned into a mess here. Well, that didn't take long at all. Probably didn't even need to be on time lapse, but instantly I saw this. So our grommet is like, it's just not even on there. So that's our fuel problem, which is good news because at least we're seeing what it is. I mean, it probably just is not picking up a good vacuum from that poor seal. It doesn't look the worst. It pulled out. I mean, the grommet's messed up. I need a new grommet. But I think the reason it pulled out is from shrinkage of this line. It is just rock solid hard. Here's the part I broke. I think that's replaceable. Have to figure out how to remove it. But I bet we can find another one of those. Order up a grommet, and I don't think we have to remove this tank. I can't tell how much fuel. It's hard to tell, but there's a lot in there. A quarter tank maybe. All right, so good news. Brand new, $25 on eBay. I'll buy it. And this complete thing was like 15 bucks. It looks slightly different, but I think it's going to work out just fine. Finding one that was, you know, nearly a foot long was a little tough. Most of them are not that long, but I think we'll get it here. Everything that's broken should be able to be replaced. Kind of do want to take that tank off. Probably just lifts right out. Maybe. There's a lot of stuff in here. That's got to be for hydro fill. Oh yeah, good. Probably top off some hydro fluid. Looks like we're missing a fin from the fan. I'm not going to worry about that, but could probably get to the drive belt pretty easily at this point, so probably should order up a drive belt because it's looking cracked. This is what happens, guys, when you start getting into things. You start going, you know, I can't sell this to someone when you know all the things that are wrong with it. So yeah, I mean, the good news is it runs. It seems to run pretty good. I mean, I don't know if you guys on, you know, on camera if this was coming up, but it was cutting out on me. So it would run for a little while and then it would cut out. So I know we were having fuel problems, but it's affecting the drive condition, because you might just say, oh, I'll just run it. I've had a few machines that, you know, there isn't much fuel in the fuel filter and it still runs fine. Yeah, maybe. Not my experience, and not my experience with this thing. It's shutting off occasionally, and it almost acts like it's a seat safety issue, but I'm pretty sure that, yeah, this thing's not getting enough fuel to run at full throttle. I don't even know what it would be like if I'm running at full throttle with the blades engaged. There's not going to be enough fuel flowing with the way that that looks to me. So we got to get this right. Got to fix what we broke. Got to clean it up. All the good stuff. Well, it's the next day, and I did get the drive belt off. It's a little complicated, and I'll try to show it going back together because that's the important part. Routing is going to be quite interesting with this machine, but it's 109 inches. It's a 1/2-inch belt, and Tractor Supply didn't have it, so I placed an order on Amazon. It might be here today. Listen to that. That's a pretty bad flat idler. So I want to get that off, and I believe we can service this one by the look of the bearing seal. I should be able to pop that off. Although I'm sure I have a good one of these, but I think it's always worth saving them so you don't have to give up on your supply of them. Easy enough to grease, so we'll try that. And I keep forgetting I'm working on a John Deere with metric sizes. This is a 15. I keep wanting to do like 9/16 or 1/2 inch. Oh boy. That might be hard to remove. Try some WD-40. Maybe get a little pry bar in there, but that's not coming off. We're gonna lubricate the bearings while we're at it. I don't think there's anything up top I need to be concerned about. It's coming. Oh yeah. Let's put that back. Already got it cracked loose. But yeah, that's what you need to do. Take the seal off and make sure it's relatively straight again. Clean it. Blow that out with oil carb cleaner or WD-40 actually will work really well, and then blow it out with compressed air. Do the other side too, and then just pack it full of grease and put the seal back on. So I'm just using like a pick. Takes a little bit of trying. And try not to damage the seal. I'll work on this one. And after using some WD-40 compressed air, you know, there's no grease in here. That's how it sounds right now, which is not bad, just as it is. So it tells you it's still good. All right, so let's pack it with grease, put those seals back on. Greased and seals put back in, nice and smooth. Looking good. I dropped all the nuts and bolts out of a container, and this little guy volunteered to help with that. That's nice of you. How dirty is my shop right now? It's disgusting.
You need to blow this place up.
Yeah, someday. All right, let's get to work on something. Yeah, I'd rather work on something than clean. I guess that's my personality. All right, some parts have come in. So I have the new fuel pickup tube, whatever you want to call it, with the grommet, 90-degree angle. I have that. I have the dial that we broke off here. All this is loose. That's why it looks like that. So looks like the tires are holding air here, which is great. But yeah, let's see if we can get this thing in the shop and running correctly, pulling enough fuel and all that sort of stuff. We do have a lot of work to do on the mowing deck. We have not even begun. I haven't even, it's just sat here. It looks pretty rough. So I think that's gonna take us a little while. But first I wanted to get it running to see if we have a viable project, and then we'll go that far. That's at least my thinking on what we've done so far. I probably want to give this a power wash today because it's relatively warm out, although it's raining. Because, you know, if I have this fender off, you can see all the stuff in here. It'd be really great to clean that all off, clean off the tank. It's all just filthy.
I present you.
Oh, you did a good job. Bullets. Yeah, that whole thing was empty, so you found all that on the ground. Nice, thank you. Big help. Yeah, it's hard to push it since the fender's so loose. Let's see.
I'm pushing it by this middle thing. I feel like we're going in for pressure.
We're a little bit crooked. Okay, so here are our parts. We do have a drive belt for this, and I will do that eventually. Here's our knob. That's to replace this one that I broke. So that's looking like the same thing, which is good. You think it's funny that I broke that? Here's our pickup tube, which this tube is not doing well. Anyway, I put that on. Yeah, see, the whole thing's just crumbling. So
we got a new one.
Yep.
Longer.
Much longer. Where did it come from?
Then it got shipped all the way from China to Connecticut.
Got shipped from China to Connecticut. That's right, and it took a little while. Kind of fun to watch the shipping on stuff like that.
A little while.
It took a little while, but we're back. Not terribly long. And then if needed, we do have the stator. I don't know if I ever showed that. The seller gave me this. Still not convinced it needs a stator. I think more realistically, we're talking about a voltage regulator. But this gives you power and electricity from the running engine, and this creates voltage, and it sends the voltage through the system of the tractor. It charges the battery is the main thing, but it does do your lights and your electronic PTO and
I want it.
stuff like that. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. But hopefully we don't have to do that job. Let's start with this. Okay, so that's a little too long, so we do need to modify it. I was pretty sure it would be, but I wanted to go too long instead of too short. I forgot if I showed you this. I did clean this out. That doesn't look great, but it's drained out, blown out, and it's clean in there now. But yeah, let's just trim a little off this tube. I just made a cut on the tube, shorten it up a bit.
Fits perfectly.
Yeah, gotta work that in. Probably need 2 hands so I don't break anything. Carmen's scared away the UPS driver. No, just kidding. Probably dropping off tractor parts. So I went ahead and put the grommet in first. That's probably the way to do things. Put a little WD-40 on it. There we go. Nice fit now. Let's put in some fuel lines. Some new fuel line attached. Just went back and reviewed the video. This fuel line just sort of runs on top like this, so I'll probably do a little clip there. It runs underneath and comes out. I believe it came out here. I could find a couple different spots for it to come out with, but that seems like a good angle. I'm gonna run the rest of this so that we have all new fuel line all around. Probably even replace this vacuum line, and then the fuel line going from the pump to the carb. New pump, all new fuel line, new grommet, all that good stuff. We'll have a nice airtight fuel system and no leaks. Hopefully this thing will pump correctly. Just getting the cover off so I can replace this fuel line. Can you see this indentation here? The faceplate of the air filter pushing up against this. Kohler doesn't give you much room here. You kind of have to snake in a fuel line like this, and yeah, that was hitting there. Not that that would cause really our problems, because we needed to see more fuel coming out of here, but it could have caused some problems with fuel going into the carb. Anyway, not exactly the culprit. I think the grommet is the bigger issue, but just something to look out for when you're reinstalling fuel line here. All right, I got this plate back on, new fuel line, and I made sure this is right in the crease. There's room, wiggle room here. It's not being pinched, so that's correct now. You do have to kind of guide it. Actually use this flathead screwdriver like this, and then tighten down the 10mm nuts to hold the plate and the carb on, and I just kind of made sure this was in the right spot. So that is a little tricky. Okay, let's give this thing a start here. We have all new fuel line, new filter, new shutoff, new vacuum line. Everything's tightened up. Let's give this thing a go. I know it died, but that was what was in the carburetor. It filled up the fuel filter just perfectly there. Yeah, we never had that much fuel in the filter before. This thing will run just fine, I think. Come on. Ooh. So the tractor's running good now. Starts right up, and I'm hearing lots of rattling like we were before, but I found this. So this is this wire's in the way, but yeah, that is a belt guide, and the nut, I found a nut for it, but the nut had come off it. So was that all of our rattle? You know, this sort of thing, I know that if you don't know anything about PTOs, that seems incorrect, but that's correct. They do pivot like that, and there's a stop so it doesn't continue to spin, whatever. But I think that's our noise. So I want to get that shored up, and then I want to get a bolt in here, because all of that is right, not making it. Look out. Comment section's gonna love that. Anyway, this was not making a ton of noise, but I do want to get that fixed. All right, let's get a nut on there. All right, we've got a bolt in there. All this is shored up, not making any noises, and we got a nut on that bolt. That's nice and tight. Hopefully there is less rattle. I know some of you still might be concerned about rod knock. I really don't have any concern about that. I think so. I bet we're gonna see far less noise from this engine now, and as I push on this shroud, some of that clicking, knocking sound is going away. I think something's rubbing the flywheel a little bit, like right here. So I will at some point get this loosened up, get the shroud off or mostly off, and deal with some of that. I have a feeling we're going to be into this voltage regulator, so I'm kind of waiting for all that. But yeah, I do not have any concerns. I mean, both pistons are working. There's no blown connecting rod. There's no sounds besides that PTO. I think we're good. All right, we got the pressure washer hooked up. I want to get all this cleaned up. Put the hood out here. She needs a bath. Getting pretty cleaned up here, and apparently this just comes off real easy. There's sort of this collar on it. I got to figure out if that probably helps secure it on there somehow. Pinches it on. Not totally sure, but yeah, it's just a press fit. That's it. So it should come off easy. Obviously I have to put the fender on and then install that, but I just needed to get this broken piece off first. I mean, that's nice and easy, and it pulls right out. Okay, and we're under the tractor, and we're going to put in this drive belt. So now that I power washed it, it's clean, but now I'm getting dripped on. So I have to get the belt over the transmission pulley. It's somewhat in the right direction now. All this has to go this way. Oh, my light's in the way, hold on. Then this has to go over the steering link, and yeah, this is easier than the other Scott's tractor so far. I believe I can snake that belt in through here. Yeah, I might have to work with that a little bit. And then it's just getting it around these idlers and tensioners. Drive belt is on. Let's start this thing up. now. Seems like a safety. Seat safety? Yeah, parking brake came off and it stalled. Here's what I think is a seat safety harness. I snaked it through the fender when I just put the fender on, and the problem is I don't see anywhere for this to plug into. But I might just jumper this and see if that does it. I don't know, I just unplugged that. Can't remember if that was jumpered or not, but I kind of remember it being unplugged. I don't know, we'll try that. Yeah, with that unplugged, I get nothing. Alright, so that can't be it. Well, I unplugged the PTO and that did it. That's a little weird though. No. I swear it did it. I don't know. I think it's the seat safety still. Maybe this jumper isn't quite good enough. Well, I took it out and now it's working. Alright. I really don't know what's going on here, but let's take it for a little ride. Like it's surging a little bit now. Well, I had a couple of these regulators around, two different ones, and nothing seems to be creating any charge, and even testing them, it doesn't look all that promising. So I am wondering if this stator is bad. And I want to look under this cover anyhow, so I think we're just going to start getting after it here. Get the cover off the engine, get the flywheel off, and replace the stator. Alright, got the cover off. It's not easy, and yeah, I mean, this whole throttle choke plate thing, I tried to leave it here. I mean, really, you should remove it, but there's a little spring in there. This is, I'm wondering if I messed that up too. So anyway, wasn't too happy about that. Wow. Don't you just love getting in here and then you realize all the things that are really bad? Okay, gonna have to repair that. And yeah, let's get those coils off. And we gotta see if we can remove a flywheel. And the Kohler flywheels are a little bit more difficult than the Briggs. I have a tool for the Briggs, but I don't have a tool for the Kohler. So hopefully like the crowbar trick will work. Okay, I put the fan bolt or flywheel bolt threaded, mostly on there. Then I'm gonna, got a crowbar and a hammer. I'm gonna try to get this crowbar in a spot, something like there, where I can get some leverage on the flywheel, and then give this a pretty good hit. Move. Might have moved. Yeah, it's coming off. Wow. Yeah, she moved a bunch. There we go, guys. Oh. Our magnets came unglued. Aha. All right, so certainly the stator could have been damaged from all that. It's possible that it didn't, but we'll certainly install the new one since we're here. This is going to be a trick, though. I put these back hopefully in the right spot. Because I think there's like positive, negative, push and pull, whatever, so I could probably double check that just with finding the polarity. But we're gonna have to clean this flywheel up really good and then epoxy these things on there. So yeah, all right, interesting. So we do need to concern ourselves with the polarity of these magnets, and we have two different types. One that will suck in like this, and we can mark them so we know. I'm just going to give it a spray of paint on both sides. So we want to know which ones repel. That's another one pulling in. Alright, been working on the flywheel. I got these magnets all cleaned up, and I have them separated. 3 of them marked orange, 3 of them unmarked. And all that means is there's a different way that the polarity works on these, and you can find the ones that repel a magnet and ones that attract a magnet, and you basically just want to get them separated so you can alternate, an orange marked one, an unmarked one, an orange marked one, unmarked, so on. I cleaned off the inside edge of this, and this looks a little weird, but I'm mixing up some epoxy in this spray paint can cap. And we're gonna get these magnets put back on. Should be relatively easy. Place these on and just sink them 1/8 of an inch. See if I can show it this way, like that. And yeah, we'll get this put back together here. And I like that these shields come off here. This is nice, because then you can get access to the stator wires. I've done some Kohlers where that's not so easy, where you almost have to, I had to cut the wire and then splice it back together. That was just nonsense. I had to do that in one Kohler. Maybe that was a single cylinder though. Oh, that was on there. So the new stator comes like this, just 2 wires, and they have connectors. So what I need to do is get the 2 white wires out of this harness. So we want to keep this purple green, well, one end is purple, one end looks green, whatever. We want to keep that one attached. That is the middle ones are DC voltage, which should return to the battery, but we got to get these AC connectors out of here. So I'm going to try to work those out. Oh, there we go. Easy. Get these installed here. All right, there we go. I really need to clean all this up. So let me blow that out. Since we're all cleaned up here, let's get this stator installed. Pretty easy with just 2 bolts. And several days later, the epoxy is all set up. I'm quite happy with this. Yeah, I like the way that feels so far. Now we got to install it. Oh, seriously, the battery. That's a brand new battery. Seems like it's not picking up much fuel, just like a little bit to run. It's a little odd. Hoping to be done with the fuel issues. been just messing around with this, trying another fuel pump. I mean, I can check, I even changed the orientation of these, but this is set up correctly. This is vacuum. This should be fuel in, this should be fuel out. I hooked up a gravity tank again, and I mean, I can run it off gravity, but it's just not pumping anything. I can sense a pulse from the pulse line. It doesn't seem all that great, and so I just did a quick Google, like, you know, why would something like this have poor vacuum? And they did say that compression, low compression, could cause this. So, which makes sense, because if it's getting its pulse from the crankcase and the engine itself, it has low compression due to valves coming out of adjustment. You know, maybe I just need to loosen up those valves a bit to get more compression. So that's what I think we're gonna do, because that's the easiest next step. It's either that, or we do find a valve cover that has a pulse hole through it, and we get pulse through the valve cover. Maybe that would be better than the crankcase, but I think it makes sense to try a valve adjustment anyhow. It is an old engine, so who knows when the valves have been adjusted. Well, I have the type of Kohler where it's like a hydraulic lifter, so there's no adjustment on these rockers. There's no Torx bit in there. It's just a 5/16 that just tightens down, and there's like I guess I could take the hydraulic part out and bleed it, which is quite a little procedure to do, and then put it back in, but I have no idea if that's gonna solve the problem. I don't really think it would. It would just kind of reset things. So these are not really adjustable from what I understand. So yeah, I don't think there's anything to do here. So I went digging around in my parts, and I had a V-twin Kohler with different valve covers. This one has a pulse port for it. I believe upgrading, or I don't know if it's an upgrade, but getting these, you know, you could buy them new, but they're quite expensive. But the ones that were on there were these plastic ones, and I'm gonna see if these will fit. They seem like they do, so let's give it a try. All right, here's my setup. We got an auxiliary gravity fuel system here, and I do have the valve cover attached with a vacuum line attached to the pump. We have this yellow hose going into a gas tank just to see if we're pumping fuel here. A little confusing. The gravity system's going to run the carburetor. Everything else is hooked up, and we'll see if we have good fuel flow. That's basically the idea here. Yeah, it's not running it at all. That's very odd. And I know you're probably wondering, I have this capped off too, so this is the crankcase vacuum line. That's blocked off. Nothing. The only thing I can think of is we need an electronic fuel pump for this thing. I'm out of ideas. So my fuel pump did arrive, but the more I was thinking about it, I was like, you know what, I should really get into the carburetor just to see if this thing, you know, isn't fully functional, and maybe that's why it's not sucking in fuel. I don't know, but this carb is not great. There's a lot of junk and a lot of old fuel in there, which is really strange because I flushed out the fuel system and we've been running it enough, but I don't know if that was all just sitting there at the bottom. That was pretty gross. The rest of the carb looks good, but there is a decent amount to go through on here. Some screws to adjust, solenoid here, all things that we can go through all these passages, see if we can't make this thing run better, and then we'll throw a fuel pump if we have to. This emulsion tube was definitely clogged a bit, so this goes on the top of the carb, like in there. There's this cover, so I got into that cover. One of the screws was loose too, so yeah, there's some problems in here. Well, I broke the carburetor. The solenoid, it's like a brass nipple on here, and it sheared right off as soon as I started screwing into this, trying to get the bowl back on. So I don't know, that's pretty deep in there too. I don't know if I can fix that. And a few days later, I don't know if you could tell, but I'm having major carburetor problem on multiple projects. But I just went ahead and ordered a replacement for this Kohler. Yeah, so I was trying to drill out what was snapped in there. You can see all the flakes on the towel. I couldn't get it out, and I don't know if I even had a solenoid to replace. Whatever, now I have a parts carb. Let's get this guy on. I mean, it took a little bit of priming, but I got it running good. Yeah, it idles down really nicely. I didn't touch the carb at all. I'm just leaving it right where it is. It's been running at full throttle for a while. I don't know, it doesn't suck up much fuel. I went back to the crankcase prime. I'm probably going to swap out this valve cover for the original one that doesn't have the pulse line on it, but that pulse line's capped off on the valve cover. I don't know. Yeah, it's I'm a little worried about that fuel. I'm gonna have to obviously keep an eye on it when we have, you know, a mowing deck on and the thing's running at full load. Is it getting enough fuel to run this thing? So far, not a single hiccup with the new carb, so that's pretty good. All right, let's keep moving forward, I guess. All right, well, let's take a look at this mowing deck. It's looking pretty rough. It's gotta be for the front. So I know here's an original part that's broken, and he said he got the new part on there. Oh, here it goes. Okay, so it goes like that, and he actually has this new part on, but he couldn't get it off of this pulley. I think that's where we need to start, because it's possible he did the repair. That'd be nice. And all we have to do is reassemble this thing. So yeah, let's this doesn't look too bad. Just put a wrench on this, impact on this, see if it comes off. Okay, not sure what was so hard about that, but all right, let's figure out how this goes on. All right, so just staring at this for a little while, I think I figured it out. Basically this goes here, And well, before that, there's this piece that goes underneath, and you can see these little dowels. There is some notches under there. So the orientation is like this. Kind of tell how it used to be on the old one. And this hole right here will be the belt tensioner. So this will go through like that. We'll put a nut on the other side, and that's where you can control, you know, loosening the belt and all that sort of stuff to put on a new belt or whatnot. Okay, so have to figure out where this big spring goes, but it goes somewhere. We'll find it. Yeah, not so bad though. And the deck is all put back together. That was not that bad. I mean, it seemed like that was one of the reasons the guy gave up on the project, but he was right there. Maybe he just didn't have an impact gun, I don't know. But he actually got us the new part. So we're ready to install this. Let's give it a try. Man, I didn't think we'd ever see this moment, but I did get the deck installed. Now, the lever doesn't seem to be making it go up or down, so I can't really understand that. But we're just ignoring that for now. Everything moves freely on the deck. The blades aren't sharp, but they're 3 good gator blades. We're just gonna roll with it to test it. I can always take them off and sharpen them if this thing is ever worth being sold. We'll find out. But let's start it up, hope that it runs, and see if we can get the blades to engage. All right, that's a really crude test, but the PTO itself works. Either we're having safety problems or PTO switch problems. I don't know yet, but it is pretty good news because we can get it to mow. Yeah, you can see I took off the fender again. I had some chafed wires that I noticed on this plug that goes to the transmission. I have no idea what that does. Doesn't seem to mind having it plugged in or not plugged in. And then of course we have the seat safety, which for the life of me I can't quite understand because it doesn't need to be jumpered. But if you jumper it and you go to engage the blades, it kills the engine. And the PTO doesn't attempt to spin, so it just is like immediate problem. When it's not jumpered, you pull the switch and nothing happens. Yeah, so I'm a bit confused. I mean, I'm leaning towards just this being bad. That's what I'm leaning towards. But I don't know. It just doesn't line up with the story. You know, he never told me like I couldn't get it to mow. I don't know. So that makes me think, you know, it's something that I did. Not sure. All right, check this out. I just plugged it back in. I don't understand. And then it just died. I might have figured it out. The harness for the PTO has a loose wire. This one on top, and I pushed it out when I installed this clip just a second ago, and I noticed a spark down there, and then the fuse blew and the engine died. But I bet this thing will work now. Now watch, I can actually start the engine without a jump pack because it's finally charging the battery. There we go. We're mowing. It's working now. Okay, we're ready to try this thing for real finally. Okay, it mows pretty good. The engine runs well. It doesn't seem like we're having any fuel problems, but I wasn't getting much from the transmission there. And it seemed like when I turned left, it was worse. If I turned right, it worked again. Does that make any sense? I wonder if I don't really understand what's going on there. I do still have that plug unplugged from the transmission. Would that do anything? I really don't know. The tractor's never acted like that. The transmission's always been good. Well, I plugged the transmission harness back in, and that didn't make any difference. Yeah, I mean, it really seems like we're having a belt issue or a bad transmission. I'd never felt any bad transmission or drive condition since we put a new belt on. Everything's been fine. Even the old belt was fine. It just was not in great shape. I was gonna say oh yeah, so interestingly, this came back to working. So I messed with that a few times, and then I heard a spring go boing and I thought something broke, but I think the spring was jammed up and it wasn't allowing this to go up or down. I mean, our deck works perfectly now. This is crazy. So you take all these steps forward and then you end up going backwards still. All right, so we got to figure out why it's not driving well. I can't believe this project. I don't even know what to do with this thing, to be honest. Should I just keep it and use it as a beater mower? I might just call it mine, because I don't know what I could sell this thing for. I mean, it shakes like anything. I don't know if the shaft is bent on the engine or something. I don't know what is up with the vibration on this thing. The deck, you know, has some rot issues. This is such a bad purchase. But we're stubborn, guys. We're gonna get this thing to work correctly. Several days later, I think I figured out why it's not driving well, at least. I don't know if you can tell. That pulley is not tightened down, so it had loosened up and had cinched forward, and we lost belt tension. But the belt still looks good. It's not getting chewed up. I just got to make sure I have that tightened down correctly. Other problems though, I couldn't get the thing started, and I had to run it off of a gravity fed fuel system to get it into the shed here. I don't know how it ran decently for me the other day, but it's still not getting fuel. Oh, you can't see it now, but this was actually full. Like one of the first times I've seen the fuel filter full. But yeah, it wasn't sucking up fuel. I wasn't getting fuel up to here, you know, so I ran a gravity system in through here, and fired right up and ran great. So I don't know, I think I am going to install that electronic fuel pump, and I think that's the nail in the coffin though for me as far as selling this thing. I don't think I can sell it with a clickety-clack pump on it. That just doesn't seem right. But who knows? Maybe I'll lower my standards. But I mean, this thing would make a nice mower for around my yard. 48-inch deck, 20 horsepower V-twin, you know, already beat up. Just kind of lining up with who I am. So yeah, still got to think it over. All right, well, I have the deck remounted. I think that transmission belt is going to be just fine. From what I can tell, people attach an electronic pump to the carburetor wire, so that's like your solenoid. So that will click on when you turn your key to the initial on, not crank setting, but just on, and that will get your pump going. And then that obviously it'll turn off when you turn off the engine. So it'll get on, you know, turn the key once before it cranks, and you'll get your carburetor primed. Crank the engine, everything should run fine. Turn it off, and the pump will stop. I want to do it that way so it's not attached to any switch or toggle switch that we might install. I think this is the best way to do it. All right, so I spliced in this orange wire here and put a little bit of solder, and then just wrapped it in electrical tape. So we'll reattach that up there. This long wire right now, it's long, but I think I'll attach the clicky clack pump right here, since this isn't doing anything for us. We'll see how that goes. Well, it's a pretty crude setup right now. I still have some vacuum lines and some electrical, but turn the key, and we got a pump. Is it drawing anything? Doesn't look like it. And this might be part of our problem, is we're realizing we can't get anything to suck up from this tank. So I don't know, we'll just keep trying here. We'll see what happens and try to get it started. All right, so I can't really blow into this. Oh, there we go, a little bit, but it is not easy. I kind of wonder if there's something wrong with that pickup tube that I bought. That's a little easier now. Maybe it had a clog in it. I don't know. We'll give it a try, I guess. Well, it's fully operational right now. It is no speed demon, but it doesn't slow down on hills, so it doesn't feel like anything's laborious. And it actually mows pretty well. It's kind of strong. Look at it shaking though. I don't know if you can see that on camera. All right, so we made some huge progress today. PTO is working. Engine is running. We got a fuel system working. We got the mowing deck working, if you could believe that. I'm still not done diagnosing this fuel system. I know I slapped on what would seem like a permanent solution there with the fuel pump, but based on, you know, me just blowing fuel back into the tank and sucking fuel out, it is very restricted back there. So I'm gonna do another investigation into that pickup tube and see what in the world's going on there, because I bet if I can solve that, we can go back to the regular system here, and then I could think about selling this thing. Although I don't mind it as far as personal use goes, even the way it is. I gotta figure out one thing though that's driving me crazy. Some reason turning left, or no, yeah, turning right, it's getting hung up. I don't know what that is all about. Every once in a while it does it. I don't know. I gotta figure that out, because that's a flaw, you know, or something broken or something. But besides that, everything else seems to be working. Oh yeah, and the charging system works. Wow, this thing, what a pain. Well, it's been a few days, and in the meantime, I actually watched all the footage that I filmed on this, and I tell you what, you do get an interesting perspective when you watch your work versus actually working on it. I don't know what it is, but it seems like when I'm working on it, I have blinders on to a couple different issues, or I'm just like super focused on what I'm doing, and I can see on the screen some things that I'm neglecting. It's just funny. So there's a lot of benefit to, you know, watching all my footage before I actually release the project. Couple things I noticed. Now, when the fender was off like this, it seemed to run better. And so now I'm starting to wonder if, you know, we're pinching a line. But I'm gonna inspect all this stuff and see if our pickup tube is working properly. I'm gonna see if we're pinching a line somehow with that fender on top of it. I've noticed that at one time I thought I fixed this, but this is back to being loose, so, you know, we want to try to fix that. Then there was like one other thing. Oh yeah, then filling some, I want to check the level on the transmission fluid, because we haven't done that. So those three things I feel like I've been neglecting a little bit, and I've also, you know, just failed to recognize the pattern of it running better with the rear fender off, because it's just been you know, variations all over the place with how this thing is running and in what condition it's in while it's running like that. But let's consider these things and see if we can figure something out here. So I have the pickup tube off. There's no obstructions in here. This thing is not clogged at all. It is nice and clear. Can blow through it very easily. This line so far is good. Can blow through that really easily. Who knows if it was being pinched. I've still, you know, could, yeah, that looks actually smashed right there. That's the first I noticed that. Can you see that? I think we might have been smashed on this deck pivot right there. All right, we might have to might go underneath and then back up or something. Huh. Anyway, I was gonna say I did change out the filter. It felt a little restricted, but honestly when I put on the new one it feels the same. So I know that filter was a little strange, and I know a lot of people would be like, oh, the filter, it looks funny. There was nothing wrong with it. It was a larger size. I don't know, it's just one I had or something. But that wasn't the problem. All right, let's yeah, I think we might have found something, guys. Pinched fuel line. So why did I route it this way? Well, I routed it this way because that's how it was. So, you know, who can blame me on that? I'm just routing it the way that I found it, which you would think would be correct, and maybe it was, but somehow something happened where that was now getting pinched there. I believe a pinched fuel line makes more sense to me than, you know, something wrong here, which this got replaced, you know, something wrong with anything else. It just, you know, doesn't make sense to me, and it was hard for me to figure that because, again, I routed the lines the same way and I had all new lines. I don't know, it's just, this is just part of it. I know some of you guys hate watching someone diagnose, but this is what it's like when you turn the camera on trying to diagnose something. It's painful until you figure it out, and then it's awesome. So I got the fan on there much better, just needed a certain washer. I know it's missing 2 fins. Yeah, I'm not too worried about that. Trans fluid is fine. It's absolutely full here. It's up to the full mark there. And now we have our fuel lines routed just slightly differently. Just that. And I'll just check to make sure that it doesn't get squished here, but I don't believe it does. So, all right, let's start assembling. And, well, actually, you know what we'll do? We'll run it first like this. And if this fills up all the way, I might delete the electric fuel pump and go back to the other way. Oh, and the other thing I realized while watching the footage was I didn't demonstrate that, or on film I didn't demonstrate that it doesn't matter about the fuel cap, because a fuel cap that doesn't vent could definitely cause some of the problems that we were seeing. Off camera I concluded that that's not the issue, so I realized that I didn't ever film that. Took a little while, but that is what you want your fuel filter to look like. Okay, we finally might be coming around to solving this thing. All right, getting the fender back on, and I know some of you won't believe me unless I show you. All right, the fuel line is nowhere, the fender is nowhere close to that. See, there's a huge gap. So that's a safe place for the fuel line. Fender is fully installed. Fuel filter doesn't have much in there, so let's see if this thing fires up with now. Oh yeah, the fuel pump. So electronic fuel pump off, vacuum pump installed. Have to say. Thought that might do it. Did you all think we were gonna solve it? Yeah, doesn't look like it. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. This was definitely an intense project. I had a lot of fun working on it though. It was pretty time consuming, and I guess ultimately I don't really know what I'm doing with this thing. I think where I parked it up there is probably where it's gonna stay, and I'll use it to mow my own lawn. Curious to know what you guys would do. Would you try to sell this thing? It's old, it's got a lot of problems, and who knows how it would do. And we definitely had to make a few modifications. The electric fuel pump is on there for good. I don't see any other way around it. Doesn't look like that vacuum pump's gonna work out. So it is what it is. It runs, it moves, it cuts. It's kind of useful to me, so I'll probably just keep it as an ugly beater summer tractor. So thank you guys again for tuning in. My name's Kyle. The channel's called Kyle by the Creek. Looking forward to putting out more tractor videos for you. Carmen's taking me down. All right, we'll see you guys on the next video.